Meanwhile, so it was that she had plunged into the broad bosom of the sea, and had brought from the deep the skins of 4 sea-calves. And all were nearly flayed, for she was minded to lay a snare for her father. She scooped layers on the sea sand, and sat awaiting us, and we drew very nigh her, and she made us all lie down in order, and cast a skin over each. There would our ambush be most terrible, for the deadly stench of the sea-bred seals distressed us sore. Nay, who would lay him down by a beast of the sea? But herself she wrought deliverance, and devised a great comfort. She took ambrosia of a very sweet savour, and set it beneath each man's nostril, and did away with the stench of the beast. So all the morning we waited with steadfast heart, and the seals came forth in troops from the brine, and then they couched them all orderly by the sea-beach. And at high day the Ancient One came forth from out of the brine, and found his fatted seals. Yea, and he went along their line, and told their tale. And first among the sea-beasts he reckoned us, and guessed not that there was guile, and afterward he too laid him down. Then we rushed upon him with a cry, and cast our hands about him. Nor did that Ancient One forget his cunning. Now behold, at the first he turned into a bearded lion, and thereafter into a snake, and a pard, and a huge boar. Then he took the shape of running water, and of a tall flowering tree. We the while held him close with steadfast heart. But when now the Ancient One of the magic arts was a-weary, then at last he questioned me, and spake unto me, saying, Which of the gods was it, son of Atreus, that aided thee with his counsel, that thou mightest waylay and take me perforce? What wouldest thou thereby? Menelaus is continuing his tale of capturing the Ancient One of the Sea. Could there be a more Lovecraftian term applied here? Almost as if he's trying to capture by hand Cthulhu, and doing so by disguising themselves as deep ones. But I digress from Lovecraftian lore. We're talking about Greek mythology here. Disguising themselves as seals, smelly, disgusting, awful, gross seals, and getting through it by putting ambrosia beneath their noses so that they don't smell their own stench. I'm also put in mind of like a zombie film where they have to cover themselves in all of the entrails and disgusting innards of zombies to be able to walk among zombies without being noticed. Kind of has that vibe to me as well. I guess worth mentioning, ambrosia is a divine substance. I'm sure you've heard of it before. I used to make a killer ambrosia salad, by the way. Haven't made that in a long time. Maybe it's time to make that again. Interesting. Will I make an ambrosia salad recipe and put it on the Patreon? TBD. TBD. But ambrosia is a divine substance, not necessarily the nectar of the gods, but I did a little looking into this because every time I've encountered the idea of ambrosia in a myth, I'm always like, well, what is it though? Like, what are you actually consuming? Because there's like the effects it has often. Sometimes it's attributed to giving longevity of life, sometimes healing wounds, preventing decomposition. And it's different than nectar, which is the nectar of the gods. That's where the name comes from. But the taste of it is also alluded to often in that it's sweet, being sweeter than honey. Sometimes it's portrayed as solid food, like small cubes. Sometimes it's a fragrant ointment like we are dealing with today. And to be clear, nectar versus ambrosia, sometimes you'll even see those two used interchangeably, but I think if you really get into the myths, you'll notice a difference between nectar being the like beverage, the drink of the gods, while ambrosia is the food of the gods. Maybe that's semantics. I'm not the expert to be asking about that. I'm just calling it as I see it myself from my little perspective here in my corner of the world. But I tried to do a little bit of research on what actually is ambrosia, and there isn't a consensus over it. I've seen so many different things, some that make sense in regards to this story, some that makes sense to other stories. So let me just give you a kind of a rundown of things my research is telling me that is sometimes found in ambrosia. As far as a food is concerned, it's associated with ingredients like water, obviously, fruit, olive oil. We hear about olive oil a lot in this story as a kind of purifying or cleansing substance. Herbs. It's, as I said, associated with honey, but whether or not it is used with honey is unclear. There are some sources that say that it's a mixture containing cheese, barley, which would make sense to the story we're telling because of all of the ingredients, the provisions that Telemachus is having them pack for the ship. Not that they're making ambrosia, but if they're going to have to go on this trip and make sacrifices or pay tributes to gods, you want to have the ingredients that will best suit your dedication to them. So I would imagine those ingredients would also be found in ambrosia, even if you're not making ambrosia. So aren't we glad we went into what ambrosia is? I mean, it's a pretty consistent part of mythology, so I think it's good to have it might be trivial, but having a passing understanding of what it is. Anything to take from Menelaus' story here? They're just going through the motions of the plan. Seems like it's working so far. The shape-shifting Proteus taking the shape of a lion, of a pard. What the hell's a pard? Let me check that one out real quick. Hey Google, what the hell is a pard? Oh, okay. Primarily an archaic term for a leopard or panther. Okay, I wouldn't want to wrestle a lion or a pard. Definitely not a snake or a huge boar. But it really took me by surprise when it said he took the shape of running water and a tall flowering tree. Why am I put in mind of something I can't quite pinpoint right now? It's probably not good content to put on air, but there's some sort of movie, TV show, something where there was a shapeshifter. It could have been digital, like some sort of like computery hologram thing, where they were tricking it into not being able to get back to its original shape. Maybe is it a Pennywise thing from Stephen King? Maybe that's it. Yeah, at the end of the book, maybe they're trying to confuse it into a different shape. I'm not trying to give any spoiler alerts here, but if you know what I'm talking about, or you have other examples of that, sign off in the Discord and let me know what I am not able to recall here. You can find the link to that in the show notes for today's episode. Okay, let's continue here with a little bit more of Menelaus' story. At some point, we got to get to news about Odysseus, right? I guess so. We'll find out tomorrow. Until then, okay, goodbye. Odyssey is part of the Gruntwork Podcast Network. The show is produced, edited, and hosted by Landon Solano. The original text of The Odyssey, written by Homer. Theme song by Neuroflow. You can support this show and other shows like it by going to patreon.com/gruntworkpod. Thank you for listening. See you tomorrow.